Today on the podcast, we are talking the cream of the top. That's right. I said the cream of the top 1% of the entire world. This might blow your mind a little bit, but you know what? It's all good. Information, it's good for the mind, for the brain. We're going to talk about it today on Frame My Nick Podcast. Begins right about now.
Get your mind right. Get your mind right.
It's a frame of mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Frame My Nick Podcast. This is your boy Sambawi Nibaye Jr., aka TK, along with my co-host Omar Williams. We call him O, and Denise Obi. We call her D Nice. Y'all say what's up to the peeps.
What's up,
Hello,
good
hello,
people?
hello.
Another lovely Wednesday morning, and y'all know how we do. We jump right in and get things started right away. But before we do that, it is Affirmation Wednesday, so we got our affirmations in and out the way. Get our day started. So if you got them memorized, got them written down, or whatever you have, let's get those done and get our day started. And for you, it's affirmation, whatever day it is for you, whether you're getting the replay via audio or video. It's affirmation that day, morning, noon, night, or in the middle of the night. Are you ready? Let's do it. Today will be a good day. Today will be a great day. Today will be an awesome day. Today will be an amazing day. Today will be a phenomenal day. Today will be stress-free. Today will be a stress-less day. Today I will overcome all barriers that want to block my progress. Today, all circumstances, issues, and situations will work in my favor. Today, all things will line up for my good. Today, I'll become better than who I was yesterday. I am a go-getter. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I am an overcomer. I never lose. I either win or I learn. I take authority over this day. I will dominate this day. I will conquer this day. And everything I have spoken into this day will happen as I have affirmed, because I am more than a conqueror. Let's get it started. So this morning we are talking about the top, or should I say the cream of the top, not the cream of the crop, the cream of the top 1% of the world. And the reason why we're talking about this today is because I actually saw this on Instagram, and then I kind of started looking into it, and I felt that I'm like, wow, this is a very interesting topic to talk about, because number one, we're not just going to talk about how wealthy they are, but about also how they have attained that wealth and what the commonality between these cream of the top 1% are. Now, mind you, real quick, these are not celebrities, though one actually is a celebrity to a degree, yes, but the rest are not. They're not, athletes. They're not actors. They're not, regular people who just happen to gain a whole lot of wealth. These are actually royal families. Royal families. So for those of you out there who are wondering, we're not talking about just anybody, even though all of us are human beings. Yes, we're talking about royalty. And so, 'cause listen, you never know. People will be like, "Well, who are you talking about? Who is it that has all this wealth?" We're talking about royalty. And listen, I know it sounds far-fetched, but trust me, there is a commonality, and there's something that we can learn from this subject today for all of us, whether you are on the average pole, above average pole, you're below the average pole, you're doing well, you're doing great, you're doing wonderful, and all in between. Because I'll be honest, no matter how much wealth you have, these five have a whole lot more than the rest of us will ever have, unless Elohim decides to bless us in that way. And if he does, I'm all for it. I'm just saying. All right. So we're going to give you guys the top 5 wealthiest families in the world. And then we're going to kind of go through each one as to how they kind of obtained this wealth here on earth. You ready? So, from 5 to 1, number 5, the top 5 of the cream of the top of the 1% is the British royal family. British royal family. Don't give me that look, Denise. Listen, I knew they were up there. I didn't know. I thought they were actually higher than that, but I guess not. So, but they're in the top 5. Number 4 is the royal family of Abu Dhabi. Okay. Number 3, the royal family of Qatar. Qatar. Number 2, the royal family of Kuwait. I'm going to say keep that in mind because we're going somewhere with that one. And number 1, as well, the royal family of Saudi Arabia. The royal family of Saudi Arabia. So, how do these families obtain this wealth? And I'm going to let Owen and Denise jump in here in a little bit, but I'm going to just run these down real quick. So, let's start with number 5, the British family. Now, we all know these are kind of like, this is like the one celebrity on the list. And we all know about Prince Charles and all that, and the family from the history of back in the day and all that. And they just recently were in the news as far as the passing of Prince Charles the 3rd, I think it was. I can't remember. I don't want to get my facts wrong. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But and so the British family, they much of their riches come from a sovereign grant from the Crown Estate and some real estate that they own, real estate investments. And so, although King Charles III inherited 500 million, let that sink in. Although King Charles III inherited 500 million, he does not own his late mother's portfolio, which is worth 42 billion.
Wow.
So, real quick. So, what is a sovereign grant? Well, a sovereign grant, it's known as the Sovereign Grant Act. And what that was, it was established in 2011. And basically, it's the expenses that are covered by a tax every year to the royal family to fund their duties, including their travel, the maintenance of their properties, communication, technology, and others. And now this tax, it's about like $1 and something tax that every person in that country or area pays a tax on. And so they pretty much are paying the royal family to do what they do. Okay. And so this is basically how the royal family has one of the ways, I'll say, based on, of course, the real estate investments and this sovereign grant to become this power of royalty and wealth. And so what is the British family wealth? What are they worth? They are worth $88 million. $88 million. I'm sorry. That's wrong. $88 billion. I'm sorry.
It gotta be, bro.
Oh, was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
Cutting off some
No.
money there.
They are worth $88 billion. I'm sorry, $88 billion. British royal family. Anybody have anything they want to say about that? Or we good to move on?
Denise, you look like you had a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shaking of the head going on over there.
Because, I just feel like sometimes we shouldn't be taxing the people for the needs of the riches. But that's all I'm going to say for now, to keep it
Okay.
PG.
safe, sound, and not to get sued. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, listen, look, you have a right to your
Right.
to your own opinion. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's all good. Hey, listen, this is what we do here. We give our opinions, but you also give facts. You know what I mean? We also give truth. So, hey, to each his own. So, number 4 is the royal family of Abu Dhabi. And so much of their fortune comes from the oil companies that they own. And so if you look at all that they've done, a lot of this again comes from oil companies. That was the most I got out of Abu Dhabi, is that they own a number of oil companies. That's about it. I mean, let's look at the fact that people who have been trying to strike oil for the longest. And if I'm looking, the majority of this list of the top 5, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, they all come from that Middle Eastern area. Just to give you an idea of where we're going with this, that Middle Eastern area is where all of this top 5, with the exception of the royal family, comes from. So the family of Abu Dhabi, and the family of Abu Dhabi, the royal family, they have a worth of $150 billion. $150 billion. All right. Moving along. The royal family of Qatar, Qatar. The head of the family, who is, I'm going to say his name right, or hopefully say, is Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Thani. Okay. I apologize, sir, if I misspelled or pronounced your name. But the head of the family, by himself, he ranks in the top 10 of the richest royals in the world by himself. Okay. And his net worth alone is 1.2 billion. His alone. Okay. The majority of the family's net worth was created by owning large stakes in companies like Tiffany & Company, Empire State Building, and Volkswagen. Message, right? Okay. So let's look at Tiffany & Company. Okay, so we'll give you guys an idea of where this family's wealth is coming from. Tiffany & Company is worth $6.55 billion. Okay. The Empire State Building is worth over $2 billion. And Volkswagen, check this out, Volkswagen is worth over $530 billion. The Qatar family, royal family's wealth is at $335 billion. And most of it, aside from what they do on a regular basis, comes from their stocks in Tiffany & Company, Empire State Building, and Volkswagen. I'm just saying. Any thoughts on that? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
I would just like to know, like, when they actually purchased them shares, like if they were in on like the open, like the round that was private, because you can get shares before it goes public, and
Gotcha.
they maybe not have sold. You know what I'm saying? They just kept it. They kept their shares, and then when it went public, it like blew up. I know I talked about that before. How there's people who became millionaires through Walmart because they had private shares.
Right.
Walmart went public, and they all became millionaires. So I would like to just know if they got their shares on the market or on the private market. That would be good to find out.
I didn't do a deep dive, but I saw that the company that owns Volkswagen looks like it's a foreign company, and I'm wondering if they actually have the company that owned and started Volkswagen. So that'd be something you guys can look up on your own. I didn't go deep into it, but the company does look like it's a foreign company. So just saying. So again, the royal family of Qatar, $335 billion. Moving on, top 2. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The top 2. The royal family of Kuwait. The royal family of Kuwait. Most of the family's income comes from the oil reserves and the numerous wise, quote unquote, wise investments they have in U.S. stocks that have skyrocketed in value over time. Let that sink in.
I believe it.
Okay.
I believe it.
Let that sink in. Now, Kuwait holds about 7% of the world's oil reserves and produces, an astounding 3.15 million barrels per day. At this rate, Kuwait will have about 775 years of oil left over at the current consumption rate.
Let me add in.
Go ahead, brother. I knew you was coming.
No, I gotta have to, because this is a key right here. Like somebody would look at that and go, why do they need to invest in anything else? They have the oil, right?
Right.
But diversification, which we talk about a lot, is good. So they got the oil, but they also diversify with the stocks. So if the oil's bad, their investments in the stock market are good. If the stock market's bad, their oil is good. It's like they have different, and I'm sure they got more than just those two, but they're the two biggest things. So like when we invest in things, we want to get all kind of we want different things. This one's going down, this one's going up. This one's going down, this one's going up. And you want to do that spread across, a few asset classes. So that's a good nugget from that family.
Yeah. And I the thing that blew me away was the fact that how many years of oil they have left over at the current consumption rate of oil. That's crazy to me. 775 years. Not days, not hours, not months, but years of oil left over.
That's crazy.
Crazy. And then there was one, numero uno. The Saudi Arabian family. Royal family, that is. With a whopping 15,000 family members of this royal family, their wealth comes from the country's vast oil reserves as well. See some commonalities here. We'll come back to those in a minute. Saudi Arabia holds about 17% of the world's petroleum reserves. Reserves, not preserves, reserves. Other natural resources they have, but are not limited to, natural gas, iron, ore, gold, and copper. Even with the oil reserves and them having the wealthiest family in the world, Saudi Arabia only has about 221 years of oil reserves left at the current consumption rate. Now, you may say, well, compared to Kuwait, that's a lot less, but I'll take 221 years of oil left over at the current consumption rate. I'll take it. It's going to outlive me. We'll talk about that too. The Saudi Arabia family, the royal family, get this. They are worth $1.4 trillion.
Lord.
I'm going to say it again. $1.4 trillion. So let's look at some commonalities here. So we heard in here real estate. We heard in here stock. We also heard in here oil companies, and we also heard large stakes in other companies. And the commonality I'm seeing here is investing, stocks, letting your money work for you. Now, again, let's backtrack. We are talking about royal families, right? But I think even in royal families, we can get something out of this that we can take into our families and into our homes and into our culture or ethnicity, whatever you want to call it. We can start applying some of those things to what they're doing. I'm taking a little short break. We'll come back. When we come back, we're going to talk about again, what these families have done, again, how they went about getting their wealth, and a little small nugget I'm going to throw in there just to kind of, just a little bit to ruffle the feathers, just to have a conversation from the past leading up to our current place right now in our lives. Frame Money Podcast. Be right back. Are you looking for an apparel company that's positive, uplifting, and truly cares about you? Then look no further.
Frame of Mind Inc., an apparel brand company, impresses on individuals to think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. Get positive apparel, such as t-shirts, hoodies, and wristbands for children, teens, and adults in various colors and sizes. Customized services include logo and t-shirt design, screen printing, and embroidery for individuals, families, schools, profit, and nonprofit organizations. You can reach Frame of Mind Inc. at 302-689-3499 or visit their website at www.frameofmindinc.com. Frame of Mind Inc. Think it, speak it, achieve it.
It's a frame of mind.
All right, welcome back to the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. Where we left, we're talking about the 5 wealthiest royal families in the world, the cream of the top 1%. Just to give you a quick recap, the British family, 88 billion. The royal family of Abu Dhabi, 150 billion. The royal family of Qatar, 335 billion. The royal family of Kuwait, 360 billion. And the royal family of Saudi Arabia, $1.4 trillion. So I'm gonna let Owen and Denise jump in here, and you guys can decide who wants to go first or not. So I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing 3 things here, but I want to see what you guys have to say first as well. So, what are some commonalities, and then what are we seeing when it comes to these royal families that we can learn from them, that we can apply to our own families, our own, communities, our own cultures, ethnicities, things of that nature?
I'll let O go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. That's a real deep question, but the first common, like the thing that sticks out the most about all of these families is that they're in commodities. It's like, you ever hear the statement, the man who gets the gold rules the world?
Mhm.
Well, it sounds like the man who has the oil and the real estate rules the world.
Right.
Now, when you say these people when you say that the royal family has real estate investments, like this is land. It's not like houses and apartments. It's like
Break it down, brother. Break it down, brother.
Yeah, they own like this territory here and that territory there, and you need to pay us a tax on this whole whatever here, right?
Mhm.
So like they're owning God's green earth. Everybody we're naming is owning God's green earth. Like it's his oil, you know what I'm saying? They're getting paid from that. So that's the most common thing. They're not selling candy. They're not selling potato chips. You know what I'm saying? They're not selling, they don't have internet thing. Like these people own the actual, like the earth.
They own a portion of the world.
They own a portion of the world.
Right, right.
So when you do that, I mean, you have to be worth 1 point whatever trillion and 88 billion, and
Yeah.
and it's just cool. The good part is that, like, the part that I do like is that it's families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a family, you have a family, and we all gonna have families. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see that families can keep this kind of wealth in the family for that amount of years, because it can't just be that. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
I know we just say like, oh, that's the royal family of such and such, and they're worth this much. Well, they've been worth that much for probably over 100 years.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's the main thing that sticks out to me, that they own the world, like the actual world.
Denise?
Yeah.
And also, if you think about it, just from my previous work experience working with military and other businesses, the top 3 countries are where we have some of our biggest military bases.
Wow.
And where we ship a lot of our military personnel from all different branches. And now you kind of see why we do it. Not just, we got to deploy you for a certain amount of time, but no, because there's wealth in this land, and they probably own our military bases in Qatar, in Abu Dhabi. And I just think it's to take a note from their book. Like, I want to take classes from them. Like, hey, get me invested, And I just think it's awesome how they say don't just own the apartment or don't just own the house, own the land on it. And then, hey, you buying the oil, you buy the land, you buy the house and everything. I'm getting my percentage off of it, and it's family oriented, which is a big thing. So
Yeah.
not just I eat, my mom eats, my dad eats, my children, my husband eat, but no, my great grandchildren eat, and that's
Everybody eats.
literally generational wealth right there. That's really what,
Mhm.
if you think about it, that's another thing, generational wealth. I'm not the only one eating, but my children, my grandchildren, and generations after can eat just because we invested now, or just because we invested smart. That's what I should say. Invested smart and
Mhm.
invested in, like Tiffany and Company. Who would have thought of that? Because
Exactly.
everybody likes, somebody's getting engaged, somebody's getting married, or you just like nice jewelry. And Volkswagen, everybody is on that I love foreign cars wave. And Volkswagen is one of the, I'd say, top 10 car companies in America. So it makes complete sense.
I would agree. I would
Yeah.
agree. So you touched on something. So I'll start with Denise. You said, I wanted to say legacy, and so you kind of touched on leaving a legacy, or you're
Yeah.
building a legacy, for not just you, for generations to come after you. That's one thing we can definitely take from these royal families. And like O said, he likes it. It's all about family. You get to keep these things in the family, and
Right.
it kind of goes to generations. So both of you kind of hit two major things: legacy, family. Building something. And let's be honest here too, is that like O said, a lot of these royal families have been, they've been made this kind of money for years. I would go as far as to say this: some of these countries and these royal families probably have had a longer road than others. Like the British family, they've been wealthy for generations. I mean, that goes back as far as who knows what, but these other Middle Eastern countries, like they've had to build their way up to where they are now. It wasn't like with the British, where it's kind of like it's been like that for centuries and decades and millennia. It's like they had to build their way up to that. And so it brings me to this here, and I want to throw two things in here. Number one, I said it was interesting earlier that Kuwait and Saudi Arabia are on the top of this list. And I say that because if any of us who were probably either children or adults in the early 90s, about the Gulf War, right?
Mhm.
How, that was, us, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, all that stuff that happened and went down. And so now I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Kuwait has stock in U.S. stock market.
Yep.
Not to mention, we also get some of our oil from Kuwait. So, to a large degree, if I'm thinking about this correctly, y'all, if I'm wrong,
You ain't wrong.
we've helped Kuwait become
Build their
wealthy.
legacy. Yep.
I'm just saying. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know. But with them investing in U.S. stocks and us having to get oil from them, we have helped them become wealthy. That particular family and that country become wealthy. Saudi Arabia, same thing. They've got what? Natural gas, iron, ore, gold, copper. We've helped those countries become wealthy. And again, it could be a good thing or bad thing. I don't know. All I'm saying is it's interesting how we were at war with these countries in the early 90s. And now these royal families have now come to the point where now it's like, hey, you now need us to do X, Y, and Z. And so I just kind of want to throw that in there. If y'all have any comments on that, let me know. But I want to kind of throw that in there real quick.
I'll just say this: when you're wealthy, like I call this biblical wealth. Like this is like wealth in biblical proportions, man. Like it's like so something comes with, like, it's not like the wealth we think of now where like we create an idea, we put it to the market, and voila, we have Apple, or voila, we have Tesla, or voila, we have Walmart, right? Like this kind of wealth over the amount of, like, this was wars, right? Like treaties, deals, like this is like the stuff you read about, You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like these families, you know, they gotta like this is deeper than just the LLC.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
this is like these people, and this is why it's a family thing. Like because these families are involved in bigger, like it's a bigger deal. I wouldn't be surprised if religion played a big part in some of this stuff too. You know what I mean? Like their belief system, what they believe, how they believe. Just again, that's another subject, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And again, looking at Saudi Arabia, they have over 15,000 members that are part of the royal family.
Right. It's a lot.
That's a lot of family. It's a
keep
lot
it
of
going,
family.
too.
Yes, exactly. You know what I mean? So that a lot to kind of digest there. The one other thing I did want to throw in there too is that I wanted to talk a little bit about Dubai. I know Dubai is on the list for like maybe like top 10 or so. They're not the top 5, and it might be more of Dubai being one of the top 10 wealthiest countries, not necessarily wealthiest families, but if you look at the country of Dubai, we're talking about building a legacy, starting from somewhere and continuing to build. If you look at a photo of Dubai from 1991, it's like a desert, and there's a few buildings here and there, and you're kind of like, okay, like they're trying to build something, but look at Dubai now. Dubai is a thriving country that looks very futuristic. It looks like they're a movie from like 2200. That's what it looks like now. If you can actually go on Google and you can look at pictures of Dubai 91 and Dubai up until like 2017, and it's like it was a desert, and now it's a conglomerate major city doing major things that looks futuristic. But it looks like that now today. It's not like it's a future picture of what it's going to look like. No, it looks like that today. And so it's things that had to get built over time. Like I said, those Middle Eastern companies, they had to build over time. It wasn't like the British family, and we're not knocking them. It's just hey, they got a head start, and according, if we're looking at how history is, they're not going away anytime soon. They've been around for millenniums, right? So, and that's just how things work. And again, back to your point, Denise, like who would have thought that Tiffany and Company would be this wealthy? Who would have thought that? I mean, unless you were on the inside when Tiffany and Company got started, or you got a tip or something like that, hey, something but to pop off, then you kind of knew I had a hunch. But things can always go south. But as of right now, Tiffany and Company is doing very well. And that's one of the things that the Qatar family thrives off of, Tiffany and Company. The Empire State Building, that's another one. Volkswagen, again, one of the most popular foreign cars out there. And I think that we can say from our standpoint here on the podcast is that, we can all take something from this. Number one, not being jealous. I know Denise, she kind of rolled her eyes a few times when I talked about the business.
Not jealous. Just the British family. Just not jealous of anybody else.
Right.
Not that
Gotcha.
You just some information that
I
get
reading
Right.
and understanding. I'm
Right.
I get
Somebody
Okay.
worked hard, but some don't.
Okay, so she wasn't jealous. She just got some information. Okay, we'll say that. All right,
You
get
got
information.
There we
You
go.
know what I
There
mean?
we go.
And by the way, I'm just gonna throw this in. If you have not seen the documentary on Princess Diana, I highly suggest you do that. Highly suggest you do that. Information. Want to talk about information? Information galore.
Is it on
So-
Netflix?
It is on Netflix, I believe.
Okay.
Look at that. Just want to throw that in there. Okay. There's also one on Prince Charles. I'm sorry, King Charles now. There's also one on him as well. But Princess Diana, that's the one you want to look at. So getting back to what I was saying, again, not being jealous, taking notes, figuring out, hey, what bit of information can I take from this and apply it to my family? What bit of information can I take from this and apply it, not just my immediate family, but my larger part of my family, or my community or my church or whatever you want to apply it to. And we're going to kind of tie this in into our next podcast. We're going to talk stock trade and investment. And my man O, who does a great job every time we do this, he's going to tie some of this in. He's going to kind of bring this to kind of full circle to see, how these things work and go together. I'm not sure what he's going to talk about, but he's going to tie it in. So you definitely want to make sure you check out the next podcast. Because what we're talking about now, we're going to talk about this in a more practical way come next podcast. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So that's all we really got today. And I know that we talked a lot about a lot of money and wealth and riches, and we're not here glorifying that. We're not here, to make that our quote unquote God. But I just wanted to make us aware of, okay, there is a top 1% out there that exists. That's not just celebrities, athletes, and so on. There are people who they're really the top 1%, not of just of the United States or of Africa, or no, they're the top 1% of the entire world. And I don't say the cream of the crop, I say the cream of the top. And that's basically what it is. The cream of the top of that 1%. That's what those top 5 are. But what can we learn from them? What can we take from them to apply it to our current situation to make things better for us on our end? And again, money is not the thing we want to go after, but it does allow us to do certain things that can improve not just our families, but our communities, and those of us who are followers of the Messiah to increase what we do for the kingdom. You know what I mean? And so it is a resource. It's not the source, but it is a resource. There are other resources out there you can tap into. And I'm going to stop talking because then I'm going to go too long into something else. So any last words? Oh, Denise?
Yeah, I'm going to add this. First, I'm going to say tune in to the stock and trade because I'm going to piggyback off of what we talked about. I'm kind of now going to not pivot, but I'm going to add some things because there's other families out there too that we talked about royalty, but we can probably relate more to some of these other families. And I'll just give 3, like the Waltons on Walmart, the Mars, who I used to work for them. Like Mars Milk, M&Ms.
Mm-hmm.
They also do electronics, which that was where I worked. And like the Koch family, who's the Koch brothers. I don't know if you ever heard of them guys, but like those stories we can more relate to because again, we don't come from 300, 400, 500 years of royalty.
Right.
Well, I don't know though. Well, if you believe like we believe.
Africa is booming right now. Africa is booming.
So tune in. It should be fun. Let's go.
Denise, what you got?
I was gonna say, wrapping it up too. Think about these companies and what they do. They sell an experience. They sell you perfection. So with Tiffany & Co., when you see that blue box, you think, oh, you're not only engagement ring, but I'm like gonna be at a high standard because I have Tiffany & Co. For instance, when you go to you drink a Coke, they sell an experience. You want you to be refreshed, to taste good, whatever it may be. So find your idea, find what you want to do, make sure it tailors to somebody who it will have a good experience with something, Always think about the experience, and that's how you can most likely become successful or create whatever you want.
Got you. Sounds good to me. I have one more thing I want to throw in there, but I'm actually going to save it for the next podcast. I'm sure O is going to touch on what I want to talk about right now at the moment, but I don't want to put too much more out there. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you. Paramount Podcast will be coming at you guys again, of course, twice a month during the summer months. We're about halfway through. So keep listening, keep being locked in. Check out the stock and trade one coming soon this month. And continue to think it, speak it, and achieve it. And for all of us at the podcast, myself, O, and Denise, we holla.
Thank you for joining the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. And as always, here at Frame of Mind Inc., think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. As our tagline says, think it, speak it, achieve it. See you next time.
It's a frame of mind. It's what you say and what you do.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.frameofmindinc.com where you can browse our online apparel store, listen to some of our original music and production services, as well as view our videos and projects we've done for our clients and customers.